So our third activity is exploring the idea of completing the square, which is the strategy that you're going to use to actually be able to solve an equation of a quadratic function when it is in vertex form. It also allows us to convert standard form to vertex form in order to be able to solve it. So it's a pretty helpful tool because we've already seen vertex form is very helpful in terms of knowing a bunch about our function and the resulting graph. So in order to do this activity, you do need to use algebra tiles. So there is a file in our class folder called printable algebra tiles. So you can print that out and use them physically on the desk. Your other alternative is to go online, and there's a link on your page here to this website that will let us kind of model our algebra tiles without actually having to print and cut them out. So those are your options. So we need to read the instructions. So first it says model x squared plus 6. And then we're going to try and arrange it into a square, bearing in mind that there might be a hole. Our third step is to decide how many 1 tiles you would need to fill the hole. Okay, so those are the 3 things that we're going to do. So the first thing we need is x squared plus 6x. So I'm going to take an x squared, I'm going to take 6 x's. So there we go. And we see at the bottom here, I've got x squared plus 6x. Okay, but I do need to actually rotate them, which I'm not sure if I'm allowed to do on this website. Okay, so that's kind of our only challenge here is you'd want to actually rotate this guy around so that we could build our square. Because right now what I'd have to do is I've got, okay, aligned, line that up, line this up, but I'd need them to rotate to line up with this side. Okay. Okay, so I found on this page that it will actually let us rotate these guys. So same website, just slightly different. Okay, so modeling x squared plus 6. Okay, oh, it's not recognizing 6x. I've got 7x's there. Okay, so I've got all of those. I want to try and create a square. This one's just going to kind of go. So I'm going to try and line these guys up. To create a square now. There we go. Okay, so I've got my square here. Not sure why it's not recognizing these. So we're not going to worry about that, what it says at the bottom, because we can see what we have here. So I've created a square. So now I need to fill in this hole. Now why I can call this a square is because my dimensions are the same. So I need to fill this in. 1, 2, there we go. Well, it took 9 tiles to literally complete the square, to fill in that hole. So the next question that our sheet asks us is write the expression of our square. So it took 9 to fill it in. So the total expression is x squared plus 6x plus those 9 ones that we filled in. If we want to factor it, you can do this a couple different ways. we can look at the dimensions of our square and we can actually determine it that way. So if we look at the dimensions, and we kind of line that up outside of this tiling here. Put that over there for now. It's x by 1 by 1. So it tells us down here what we've factored out. It's x plus 3 by x plus 3. We could also write that as x plus 3 squared. What do you notice about the factors? Well, if I can write them as a square, they are the same. That's why it's called completing the square, because we're creating a shape where both dimensions are identical. So what I would like you to do is work through this table here. You can use algebra tiles. It's pretty helpful in terms of visualizing. And then you want to answer these questions below. So pause the video right now and work through these, either using the link that I've given you or by actually printing out, cutting out, and then moving around those paper algebra tiles. Once you've completed that table, you want to answer these questions referring back to these columns. So the key thing to note would be right here in this guy, the idea that our standard form, or general form actually is what we're going to call it, is represented with A, B, and C, whereas our square is going to be x plus d squared. Okay, so trying to relate B to D. So what would you do to D or how would you get D from B? So D equals something to do with B. Okay, and you want to figure that out. You then want to tell me, how do I go from C, or to C, from D? Okay, so how are those numbers all related? That's what we're trying to figure out. And then you can kind of take the step to go all the way directly from B to C. And that's going to be how we're going to complete the square. And so using that pattern, you're going to actually fill these guys in. So again, pause the video, answer these questions, take what you've decided as the rule, and then apply it down here. And that'll be the end of the activity. And then you can move on to the lesson about completing the square.